Hey everybody, Jim here with SAPBODS.com, and this is the third video in a series of videos designed to teach data migration professionals how to use BODS in a single day. In the last video, we talked about creating a job, creating global variables, and then using scripts to set values to those global variables. Then we imported data from an Excel spreadsheet, transformed that data, and then prepared a load file to do a load for SAP. In this video, we're going to use the case and merge transforms, and additionally we're going to write a custom function and use it to transform data. Let's get right to it. So in this data flow from the last video, you can see where we teased the information out of the Excel spreadsheet, transformed it just a little bit, and then sent it off to this text file and also to a table in Access that was created. And here you can see where the system will drop and then recreate the table every time it runs, which is to be expected. It's like a create query in Microsoft Access. Let's have a look at that table. And that's still on the sandbox. Let's get this open. There we go. So here we can see it's got the 1100 that we pulled from the $company code global variable, and then all of the other information neatly set up with these headers ready for load into SAP. Not much to see here. I want to recycle so much of this. In fact, I'm going to delete this text file from this part of the job and adjust this transform, adjust this query just a little bit, so that branch is now going to just be dot branch, like that. There we go. And we'll save that. So what's going to happen is the information is going to come straight from the spreadsheet and be transformed just as before, but instead of the 4-character 1100 value from the $company code global variable, it's going to have San Francisco, New York, and Pensacola, and it's going to go into our access table. So let's create another data flow, and we'll put it right after this one. This is going to be called data flow case transform, just like that. And we're going to daisy chain these so that they go quite neatly. Nice. So we can now go back to the data stores, and here you see under the template tables in this Jimbo Access database, it's created from the last data flow, this table customers. We can actually start this data flow with this table. Great. And now we're going to add this really cool transform called case. And case works in a really neat way. I'll show you in a second. Branch, just like that. There we go. Connect it that way. Keep that neat. So the way it works is you make a case, and call it at San Francisco, and it's going to say branch equal San Francisco, like that. I'm going to add another one. This is going to be called New York, and it's telling you that there's an error because there's no expression in here to check. Branch equals New York. And we'll add one more for Pensacola. Oh. Just like that. Now it doesn't look like it's doing much, but wait until you see this. So we have this case, and we're going to add 3 queries. San Francisco, query New York, query Pensacola. And we're going to take these this outstream and watch what happens. I'm going to drag it up, and when I let go, it asks me which of these I want to use as the stream going into this query. So that one's San Francisco, that one's New York, and that one is Pensacola. So I made a noob mistake. Let me go back into the case branch, and you can see here it produces this extra case for when there's content and it doesn't match any of these. We don't want that. We know that the content is all straight. But if you had data that came in and there was maybe a Los Angeles branch, you would want that to go to another stream as default. Great. So in San Francisco, we're going to do a small transformation. Yep, let's carry these all over. But the branch, we're going to change this to company code and set this value to 1100, like that. Great. Oh, and the manager in San Francisco likes all of the names to be in uppercase. Just like that. Perfect. And in New York, let's just do this. I'm going to call this the same thing. Oops. Haha. Who hasn't made that mistake 100 times? And this is going to be 1200. Company code 1200. And the manager there was very strict and doesn't want any changes because they maintain their names in the legacy system perfectly. And as a data migration professional, you just say yes ma'am and you do what you're told. But Pensacola is a different case. The manager in Pensacola wants the name of the customer to be sentence case. That is that the first letter of each word is going to be capitalized, and then each subsequent letter will be lowercase. So now we can write a custom function. I'm just going to go new. I'm going to call this sentence case. Next. Perfect. I don't know what it's doing here. It's doing some fun thing with the refresh. That's okay. So we're going to insert a parameter. This is going to be called $input, and it is going to be a variable character, 255 characters long. It's fine, even though names are only going to be 40 characters in and out of SAP. We'll just leave this as part of the function. Right, and we need a couple of local variables. We'll go $current, and that's going to be an integer. And we'll do output. And this is going to be a string that's going to be knit together during the run of this function. Now, to be fair, I've already written the function. It's here. And I'll explain what it's doing. It takes and assigns the first letter in uppercase of the name or the input string to output. So by the second line, output is 1 character long, and it's an uppercase character. Sets current to 1, and then does a do loop through the length of the input string, skipping, of course, the first letter. So it looks at the character right before the current character in the string, and if it's a space or a period or a slash, then it will set that as append to it, to append to the output string an uppercase character, the version of that character. But if it's not, it puts a lowercase character there. And at the end, it returns the output. That's going to be the value returned by the function. So it's a little kooky the way this scripting language works. Instead of brackets, you got to use begin and end. And if here you have an else, or so you have an if, and then a begin and end, and then an else and a begin and end. It's really cumbersome, but if you've been programming for a long time, you can pick up this scripting language quite quickly. So in Query Pensacola, I'm going to carry all these fields over. There we go, like that. But the name is going to be sentence case, the name, just like that. Great. So now we've done 3 transformations on the same source data, just slightly differently. And now we want to merge that back together. We can do a transform called merge. And you could do this with access, but it would be through a series of append queries. Just like that. 1, oops, 2, and 3. Okay, and we're going to make another template table, and we'll do it in the Access database again because, hey, I like Access. Customers final, like that. Nice. And then we'll just tease that over, and then we can check to see if everything's fine. Alright. Type from int of mapping expression. Huh, well, let's look. Here's how you debug code. And sure enough, I misspelled Burks in the San Francisco query. Great. Let's fix that one. That's the easy one. Alright. And in Pensacola, I'm passing name 1, which is not an int. It's phone debugging. Input is a varchar. Output, oops. There was a noob move. This should have been varchar as well. You probably spotted that and didn't say anything. Great. Okay. And okay. Give it a check. Oh, it's still doing that. Conversion will be used. Int. Just type varchar of column name 1. What a strange thing. I missed that too. Boy, I am really noob today. There we go. Great. I love that it does a lot of error checking for you. Let's run this and see what happens. This job's getting longer. I'm loving it. Great. Let's close this. And now we can actually look at the data to see what we've got. Alright, so the San Francisco's 1100. New York is 1200. And you can see the 1100 customers have all uppercase names. Here in the 1200, they were already uppercase coming from the legacy data. But in 1300, I I forgot to change that. We can fix that, but the names are all sentence case now. Perfect. We're nearly done. So you got to do a little bit more debugging. This is going to be 300, just like that. And there we go. We'll execute. Yes, please. And we'll run through this job one more time. Yeah, perfect. We can look at the data now. Perfect. All right. Well, let's do the recap. In this video, we used the case transform to split out data from a single stream of customer masters and performed 3 transforms separately on those streams and then knit them all back together with the merge transform. Additionally, we wrote a custom function to correct the sentence case of customer master names. In all of that, we did a lot of debugging, and I sure hope you learned a lot, because if you go into BODS or into data migration, you're constantly going to be going through your own code and most likely the code other people have written. In the next video, we're going to start injecting SQL code into the transforms, and that's no pun intended, but we're going to be using some SQL to get more granular transformations, and we're going to be using the SQL transform. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video.